Hey y'all, welcome back to Tab Space. I'm back here with Terai again.
Hey.
I am going to ask you about your job title today.
Okay.
So, what is it? What do you do?
What is it?
What is it that you do?
Well, I'm a daycare teacher. So I'm a teacher. I teach for 18 months to 2-year-olds. 2.5, I would say, is the most that I have in my class. So yeah, that's what my current role is.
And how many students do you have?
Well, it depends, but I can have up to 7 kids by myself. But if not, then if I have 8 kids, I would need 2 teachers. So I can have up to 14 kids with 2 teachers.
Oh, it sounds like a busy, hectic day.
Absolutely.
To say the least.
Definitely.
What does a normal day consist of if you could comprise a normal day?
I mean, as far as like the routine, I feel like, okay, when I first got to this job, for instance, first of all, this is my first time doing childcare, so I do want to point that out. I'm not a veteran in this. I didn't even go to school for it, so you don't always have to go to school to chase your dreams. But anyway, like they're willing to pay for me to go to school just because I work there. So sometimes you can just jump into a profession and
get some tuition reimbursement.
Yes. You don't always have to go to school right off the bat and come out your pockets. But anyway, when I first got to this job, the class, I've been in the same classroom ever since. But my students were it was chaos. It was nothing but chaos in the classroom. They had no structure. There was no like routine. It was just, they come in the morning, they play around everywhere in the classroom, and then we do the little curriculum, and they just play all day. It was just free play all day. Mm-hmm. But once I started becoming a lead teacher, that's when I started trying to like, okay, well, how can I create some more structure with these students? Because I do notice 2-year-olds, there are 2-year-olds that I've met that are just off the wall, just not listening. They just doing crazy stuff, jumping on. You ever seen Alvin and the Chipmunks with coffee? That's how I feel. That's what I compare it to some 2-year-olds nowadays that don't have any structure or that are really, it's really the lack of structure, and that can be anywhere in life. Whether it's like, okay, you can have structure all this time, but then you go on vacation and your kids staying with your grandma. So that inconsistency could throw a child off with their behavior. So I've just noticed that structure is important. Even though, I'm sorry, you ain't asked that. You asked what a normal day looked like. So when I first got there, it was chaos. I started creating some structure by creating a circle time. And I'm like, okay, what are some songs and some things that I could do during circle time to keep these kids in one spot for 30 minutes to an hour, or even just 15 minutes, just having them sit down alone in one spot.
Right.
So starting off with that circle time, I could always expect, because that's the drop-off time. So you can always expect to have kids that are going to be crying because they didn't want to leave their mom. So, and that can be that one kid crying, saying, I miss my mommy, can trigger 2 other kids to start crying because they like, oh snap, my mommy, I miss my mommy too. So yeah, you can expect a lot of emotions, and it can be emotionally draining.
Did that ever, like, in the beginning, did that ever, like, tug on your heartstrings when they would be upset or are you not? I don't know, I'm an emotional person, so for me, watching a kid get upset about that might upset me a little bit, just for, like, a moment.
I mean,
so I realized, like, okay.
As an empathetic person, yes, I can feel those emotions, and I understand.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like they miss their mom, yeah, I understand. Like,
yeah.
But I'm not crying with them, you know?
No, we're not crying together.
I miss my mom. Right. That time I miss my mom.
No, not crying with them, but just kind of like some, aw, like.
Definitely. But, once you get 2 or 3 kids crying, it's like, all right, chill out. Like,
that's enough. Everybody can't miss their mom right now.
I know y'all miss your mama, but they gonna be back. You gonna see them again. But right now, we here. So let's live in the moment. Let's do the circle time. Let's get excited for these songs. So getting them something very excited for was important that I noticed as far as creating that structure. Because it's like, oh, it's time for this. Oh, the good morning train's coming. Little things like that. It helps with the transitions throughout the day. But and transitions are important when it comes to, my job, because when you're dealing with 2 year olds, they have to go from, oh, okay, we're gonna be playing trains to reading a book. And they may not want to stop putting out those trains, but getting them excited for something is really what helps. Um, so yeah, on a day-to-day basis, I can say with dealing with 2 year olds, they're trying to find themselves, they're trying to understand their emotions, they're trying to learn how to communicate. So this age is a challenge for me because I'm dealing with so many different personalities, and them figuring out what those personalities are for them and what those mean to them. And then as an empath, it's like, dang, I already know what you want. How can I teach you how you want it? And doing that with 7 to 14 kids can be draining by the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can only imagine.
So I can expect by my lunchtime to really be emotionally exhausted.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, what's the most difficult part of the job to you?
The most difficult part is really just try is I would say actually the most difficult part is not getting frustrated. Like I can allow myself to get to that point where I'm emotionally or just mentally exhausted, and after that it's like difficult to be like, okay, still have patience. And so that's the hardest part, is continuing to have patience throughout the day, working with the kids, remembering like, okay, they're at this stage of their life, and that they don't really know any better, they don't understand their emotions, that's why they're crying about this, and then helping them through that. Or having the patience to help them through that, I think, is the difficult part. Because sometimes I just want to be like, all right, I'm going to just let them cry. Okay. And I let them cry for a minute, and then I'm like, okay, are you all done? You feel better? Okay, cool. Instead of actually breaking down and communicating with them, hey, how are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way? What will make you feel better?
So, wait until they're done tantruming, and then once they're done, you want to address them. You don't want to be, while they're in the middle of trying to.
No, I prefer to help them in the middle of crying, because, okay, but you only have about a window of time that you're able to do that. If it gets, like, say you're doing that for like 20 seconds, because, if you really break down a minute, it's a long time. Mm-hmm. So say they're doing that for 20, 30 seconds. If it's still going on beyond that and I'm not able to talk them down, I'm going to let them have a couple minutes. We have a certain area in the room where it's designated to, okay, you can sit down over here and calm down.
Okay. How do you avoid going home and being frustrated after that?
That is something that I think is a day-to-day thing, because you can go to work and you can have a smooth day and your kids are fine, and it's easier to just kind of decompress your day and just kind of oh, okay, well, today wasn't so bad. But then you could go to work and you are but yeah, like you said, very frustrated, very with no patience. And I have a daughter, so coming home to a daughter, it can be difficult to be able to have the patience to work with her on certain things or play with her still after being at work for 10 hours with 2 year olds. So I would say, to answer how I do that, if I do have a day where I was very like just overstimulated, I would probably at home or like on my way home, if I don't have my daughter, I would like take a little extra time to myself, or drive a little slower on that route, or stop at if depending on what's en route. Like I have a park right next to my house. I can stop right at the park and kind of just look at the trees, breathe, listen to some music, just do something for myself before going back home to more people and more stuff. Because if you do come home and you are frustrated, your temper is low or high. Is your temper high or low when you're mad?
You have a low temper.
Okay, I have a low temper. Boom.
Mad usually.
Yeah, okay. So when you get home after being frustrated and overstimulated, you can definitely have a low temper. So you would have to, like, anybody can set you off just by asking you a simple question. It's like, I don't want to make any decisions at all. Right. Don't ask me nothing.
Okay, that's fair. How do you avoid getting overstimulated at work?
At work.
Yeah, at work.
I guess you have to calm down the situation as fast as you can. I mean, there are times where we're doing an activity that may include a lot of stimulation for me, and I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna break this down. We're gonna like cut this short, or we're going to find a way that we can do this quieter. I know there's like activities, for instance, I've done curriculum where we had to play the drums, and I wanted to do it at the beginning of the day so I can know like I can get that stimulation out the way, but maybe I didn't push it to the end. So I'm like, okay, this I'm like, okay, this is how we drum quietly. How we drum quietly, like just kind of trying to control, make knowing that you have control over your classroom at the end of the day. So controlling that simulation for yourself. If there's something on the curriculum that you're just like, I know my kids are about to act crazy on that. I'm gonna save that for another day. Or today isn't the day for that with these kids because we're not having such a smooth day where we'll save that one for tomorrow, type stuff. So knowing that you can still hit curriculum and but just saving it for another time.
So you definitely have to be able to appropriate when's the right time to do certain things and when's not.
Yeah, I had to, like, in the beginning, I'm overstimulated instantly. That was my first time dealing with children that long. But I would say over time, I recognized at what point in the day I start to get irritable or frustrated or impatient, and controlling my day in the beginning so that I'm not that overstimulated in the end. Like, I'd rather leave the chaotic activities for the afternoon and do more calm activities in the beginning of the day.
Makes sense. Do you think that teaching is harder than it was before COVID?
I think that kids are definitely different than from before COVID. I think that
in what way?
Like, even as far as infants are concerned, their development, I think, is different. Socially development, like, okay, so I noticed, okay, so the pandemic was what, 3-4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere between
almost 5 years now.
So if I look at a 3, 4, 5-year-old at my center compared to a 8, 9, 10-year-old at my center, or even compared to a 1-month-old or a 1 to 18-month-old in my center, there's definitely developmentally, I would say socially, a difference between that age and now's age and that age and before's age.
So are the kids, the younger kids that are born post-COVID, are they more like the kids from before COVID? Or are they still developmentally lacking as much as the kids that...
I think in a way they are still developmentally lacking, but I can't speak for it too much because I wasn't teaching then.
Right.
So I'm just going based off of the experience of kids that I know.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think at the end of the day, it's that adaptation. That's all we're all doing. We're evolving. So I can't say that we're the same toddlers and newborns that our older siblings were.
Of course.
So I think, at the end of the day, there's still that evolution. But developmentally, I wasn't teaching the 8-year-olds, so I can't tell.
That makes sense. Any advice that you'd give to somebody that wants to work with kids?
Run. No, I'm just playing. No, I would say honestly, if you're doing it because you have to know why you're doing it. You have to have a real reason why you're doing it. You can't just do it because you're like, oh, I love kids, because you don't always love kids. Just like you don't always come home and love your partner. You don't always come home and love anything. You don't always love anything. There are days where you're not going to love it so much. Mm-hmm. So, like, I love my pet, but when my pet poops on my floor, I may not love my pet so much in that moment, So. Yeah. You have to do it. There has to be another reason besides I love kids. So for me, like, I enjoy teaching children because I like having an impact on the growth and communication of these kids. I've noticed going there, like I said, this is my first time teaching. I've only worked there for about 7 months, and I have teachers there that are like, you are a great teacher because of what I am instilling into the children. And I'm not just doing like what they're telling me to do, and I'm not just reading off of a paper like, okay, well, this is what we're doing next. Like, I'm adding in the extra care because I do care about the developmental, like about the communication. I feel like communication is important to me, and that's what I liked as a child, or I struggled with as a child. So I'm kind of working on that with them at a young age, and just helping them with that next teacher. Because the next teacher is like, dang, you know what? The kids coming from your classroom are a lot easier to handle now than before, you know. So that's what I'm doing it for. Not just because I love kids, but I care about the development. I care about our future.
Okay.
As a country, as humanity, and that's why I'm doing it.
I like that. And honestly, I feel like having fulfillment in the thing that you do every single day makes it that much easier to go do it. People say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And I really do believe that. I feel like if I care about something, I can do it and I can look up and be like, dang, 8 hours have gone by already. But if it's something that I just want to keep looking at the clock, the day is going to drag.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Do you feel like teaching is something that you would want to do in the long term, like for good?
Uh, I am an entrepreneur at heart, so no. But I mean, I would push for more people to do it. I do hope that more people have, that desire, because I do think those important professions that some people we don't have enough people leaning into. Like, I think 10, 20 years from now, we're probably not going to have as many doctors and those important things that we really need in life.
None of us are going to have jobs if this AI stuff keeps taking all of them.
Facts. But, so I do think that I will continue to push it, and I think it's important, and as long as, I think that I will always have something to do with the impact of children, but I don't think that I will always do teaching.
That's fair. That's fair. What's different about teaching than most 9 to 5s?
Teaching in a daycare, they're not 9 to 5s really. Like, you know how like most, well, I guess it is. I guess it is a 9 to 5, but like how school teaching is like 6 to 3, or even 7 or 8 to 3:30, 4. So those long days, in versus daycare versus regular school, I would say and we don't get summer breaks and stuff like that. So like, that's definitely different. But teaching versus a regular 9 to 5, I mean, I've done recruiting, I've done serving, I've done, a bunch of stuff. So I think that the difference would just be the fact that I'm not dealing with like people that know. I'm having to teach someone their personality. I'm having to teach someone how to communicate. And versus any other job, I'm communicating with people that should, I hope, know how to communicate. Like, if I'm taking your order, I hope that you know how to order or how to read off the menu. I'm having to teach these children that. So that's the difference between the nine. I know you really would be surprised. I mean, as a server, I could say, but yeah, I think that difference is having to take that extra energy and patience. Okay. Patience is the difference.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, it seems like every single day is different for you. Like, I could go to work and forget that it's Wednesday because every day's been the exact same, but you don't.
No.
Don't seem like you have that.
Not at all. I mean, honestly, and even sometimes, like, I'll have kids that are part-timers, and they don't come on certain days, and those part-timers may be more rowdy because of the inconsistency. So yeah, some days I can go in on certain days of the week and be like, well, I know this day is going to be a little rowdier than the last day because this kid's going to be here, and that kid with this kid, oh, they're like two peas in a pod, so they're both going to be causing havoc. So it's just like, okay, I can go in on certain days, and I know what to expect, but it's definitely going to be different than the last, always.
Fair enough. If you can answer this question, because I don't ever want to put nobody's job up for grabs, so I'm just gonna ask. If you can't answer, you can't answer. What do you think about the curriculum? And I don't just mean your curriculum. I just mean like the current curriculum that's being pushed in schools now?
I feel like there needs to be a lot more added because I do feel like I saw this post the other day and they were talking about how like all these things have changed. If you look at almost any job or any field, everything has changed except for teaching. Like classrooms all still look the same since from 100 years ago, and that is crazy. Like why hasn't the classroom setting, as far as even just those major subjects that we're learning, why haven't that really evolved more?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the only place you can get that is like if you go to a STEM school or you go to a private school. You go somewhere where you're either paying some money or
And
you're
I
really
have no
smart to get there.
experience doing that. So in public schools where most people have access to, especially in today's society, I feel like the curriculum could definitely have more added that's adapted with times. Okay, because
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, as far as my curriculum goes, like I feel like there are I'm teaching these 2-year-olds what makes sense for a 2-year-old. So I'm not mad at it, but I do add in my own little personal, flair in there of how I'm teaching this and what I'm really teaching. Like, oh, okay, I'm teaching you shapes and sizes, but I'm also going to teach you how to build a house with it. Or I'm also, I don't know. I'm finding ways that I can make that one curriculum thing tap into other developmental things as well.
That's fair. Have you seen behavioral changes in children post COVID? I know you weren't a teacher before COVID. You did say that, but I don't know. Just in your personal experience, like, have you seen what you would think, like, oh, they're probably worse than they would have been, or maybe they're not?
I would say kids that like during COVID, there was a point in time where they never saw other people's faces besides their like immediate household because everyone had masks on everywhere they went. I mean, if they did, it was just that one rebel that was like, yeah, or a couple people here and there at the grocery store type thing. But
yeah,
most, I would say during the pandemic, it was a lot of children that just didn't like I said, see other people's faces. So it was hard for them to read expression. It's hard. So like socially, they lack a little bit in how to communicate their emotions or even identifying emotions in other people. So, and that's something that is on our curriculum. So I think that kids that were born during the pandemic definitely have some developmental differences than like kids now and kids before the pandemic because of that fact. It is really most of what I've noticed. It is socially. So
that's interesting. That's something I would never attribute to affecting somebody's development. I would never think a mask would affect the way a kid develops.
Yes, definitely.
See, do you have challenges you feel COVID enhanced in the development of children? That's honestly the same question. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing, because this is a topic that interested me personally. I've watched a few little teacher talks and like seen little blurbs here and there about how they kind of like one teacher that got fired for getting his hair braided or little other things like that, and it kind of just piqued my interest. Like, I wonder what it's like in a classroom day to day ever since COVID, because I don't feel like I'm that far removed from being in school. So
yeah. No, I will say, just to add, like, teaching is super rewarding. Like, I've only been there a few months, and seeing, like, the kids from when they first got there to where they are now, and seeing that growth and watching it, and knowing that I was a part of that, that is the reason I go to work every day. Like, that's my reason why.
that's beautiful.
Because these kids are amazing, and to see like, dang, I remember when you used to be mute, and it took me a month to hear your voice, and now you talking it up, you chopping it up, we having conversations. So I know I can talk about the niggas. So I'm dealing with 2-year-olds, and you know what they say about 2-year-olds. So I know that can be emphasized more, but I love being able to be a part of that impact for them. and being able to be an impact for those children in general. So.
I love to hear that. I'm so glad.
And I hope that's why other teachers do it too.
Yes, I would agree. I think that the point that you made about just loving kids is not enough. I think that, when I was growing up, there was one too many teachers that did not like kids, and it was obvious. And it just be like, why are you here? Like, literally, why are you here? You don't like us. You could do any other job, and you could probably make what you want to make, or you know what I mean, explore what you want to explore. But yeah, I love to hear that, and I'm glad that you're doing something that makes you feel fulfilled every day. And I hope that everybody strives to do just that, no matter what it is. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise.
That part.
And thank you again for blessing us with your presence.
Yeah, for having me.
Always.